Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be about questions I have been avoiding. I have been active duty Air Force for about 2.5, almost 3 years in December, and my husband is active duty Marine Corps. He has been in about 3 years as well. This is the second time I have sat down and tried to film this video for you guys. For the last few months, I have just been kind of doing a lot of reflecting, reevaluating, trying to figure out where my life is going at this point. So next week I will be 7 months pregnant, and that's crazy to say. I feel like it is flying by, and the baby will be here in 2 or 3 very short months. So we have been obviously getting everything ready for the baby, and right now we are both still working full-time. And I've gotten a lot of questions on Instagram and YouTube about daycare, about both of us staying active duty, about switching to the reserves, switching to the guard, about getting out of the military, about what I'm going to be doing after maternity leave. I have been kind of either not answering these questions or giving vague answers because honestly, I don't know. So when people are asking me, are you getting out? Are you switching to the guard or reserves? Are you staying active duty? It's like possibly yes to all of the above. So we have a lot of decisions to make and a lot of options right now that we have been discussing and trying to figure out what's best for us and what's best for our family. And honestly, none of these are bad options. I am not the best decision maker, and it's been tough because once you become a parent for the first time, once you have a newborn, your entire life changes. And you guys have been with me on this journey for the past 2 or 3 years now already, and so many of you have been there with me from the beginning, and I had no idea the amount of changes that would come, especially so quickly, once I made the decision to enlist in the Air Force. So when I enlisted, I was single. I was doing this by myself, for myself. And I mean, obviously marriage and a family, children, like those are things I've always wanted. Those are things that I've always dreamt about. And obviously I love kids. My degree is in elementary education, so this is something I've also wanted as far back as I can remember. Like if you had told me 3 years ago, right before I enlisted, that I'd be waiting on staff sergeant results, 7 months pregnant, married, in a brand new home, like I feel extremely blessed. I'm extremely grateful. I do not take any of this for granted. So much has changed, and now we are faced with decisions. We are kind of at a crossroads, and we have some decisions to make. So if you guys don't know, when you are in the Air Force, you have up to 12 months. When you're a female and when you're pregnant or when you have a newborn, you have up to 12 months to decide if you would like to stay active duty. They also give you some options to look into the guard or reserves. You can get out completely. So these are kind of all the options and decisions I've been faced with the past few months. Like I said, none of these are bad options. So option number 1, we both stay active duty. I'm very fortunate that my parents at this time, good timing I guess for them and for us, starting in August when my brother goes to college, they will officially be empty nesters. So they plan on coming here in September or October for the birth anyways, and to be here to spend time with the baby and to help out, and we're very fortunate that they're able to do that. So they're already coming here, and my parents have told me, like, if I want to stay active duty, if I want to finish the 3 years left on my contract, then I should do that, and they're here for us because daycare was one of our concerns. Nothing against daycare. I personally never went to daycare. My dad actually stayed home and raised us, which is not very traditional. But my mom worked full-time outside the house. My dad stayed home with us. He raised all 3 of us. And so for me personally, if one of the parents can stay home, just in my opinion, that's best case scenario. Obviously that's not always the case financially, but daycare is extremely expensive, and Bradley and I, where we're stationed right now, we drive an hour opposite directions in the morning. So we were like, which daycare or which base would we even take the baby to? My maternity leave is about 3 months, so in that case we'd be putting a 3-month-old into daycare, which neither of us really wanted to do if we didn't have to. And so if the baby went to his base, which was more likely, then I'd be 2 hours from my newborn all the time, and I didn't want that. I don't want that. Also, daycare is like $800 to $1,000 a month at the CDC on either of our bases. it's wild, honestly. Childcare is very expensive. So I was like, do I really want to be at work all day, away from my newborn, and paying that much money for it when that's a big chunk of what I'd be getting paid to go to work. So no, I don't want to be 2 hours away from my son all day, and I don't want to pay that much for daycare if we don't have to. So we are very lucky that my parents have offered to help us out in that way. That is a huge help. But on the other hand, I don't want to put that responsibility on them. I don't want them to have to raise my child, you know what I mean? So to them, of course, they don't look at it like that. This is their first grandchild. I'm sure they'd be more than helpful and more than willing to help us out. They've told us that repeatedly, but I don't know, I'm just like, this was my choice, this is my kid. I want to raise my child, you know? So I don't know, everyone has different parenting philosophies as well, you know? I was not always getting along with my parents growing up. I didn't always agree with everything they were doing. I mean, what person does? So after talking about daycare and talking about my parents staying home with the baby, we started talking about me switching to the Garter Reserves, because although I don't see myself staying active duty right now, I don't want to get out of the military completely. I would love to stay in at some capacity and be able to be a mom full-time and maybe do military part-time. So I have been in touch with a reserve recruiter since April, and we have just been discussing my options. She has made it seem like the process would be fairly simple. I don't know if this is true yet, because I'm not looking to separate in this moment, so I have not exactly started the process, but she has kind of just been talking me through my options. I would definitely want to stay at the same base that I'm at. I definitely want to stay in the same job that I have, but I would just be going to a reserve unit, which would be 1 weekend a month. She's making it sound like this process would be simple. I don't know, like I said, because I haven't officially started it yet, but when I look online and I look at my base and my position, there are no reserve job vacancies available. And I don't know how this works. If, like she said, coming off of active duty, I would have a better chance at filling like an overage position, or she just makes it sound like I would easily have my foot in the door since I've already been active duty for 3 years. And I don't know. Because I haven't made a decision yet and I'm not ready to start the process, I don't have a ton of information about it yet. I was advised against switching to the Guard just because Bradley is still active duty, and there are some people who are telling me that it would be not as easy to basically switch units. Like if he got orders to another state or another country, they're like, you're kind of stuck with that unit in that state. So I've been told that the reserves are a little bit more flexible, where it's like very simple to just switch state to state or unit to unit. Again, I don't know how true this stuff is. I am still in the beginning stages of all of this. I have also reached out to a Guard recruiter. She has not gotten back to me yet, but I am open to pretty much learning about all these different paths right now. So that would be option number 2 if I switched to Guard or Reserves. So option number 3, if the Guard and Reserve process doesn't go smoothly and it's just not an option to stay in my position because I'm not interested in reclassing or retraining or anything like that. I don't want to go back to tech school and have to learn a new job. That would just result in me having to be away from my family, which is what I'm trying to prevent. So if the Guard and Reserve path does not work out, my last option is obviously to separate completely. And that makes me sad. I don't want to do that. I definitely don't want to do that. But I think that I would be more willing to separate completely than to stay active duty and have to put the baby in daycare. I would definitely take my parents up on their offer to stay home with the baby before I put him in daycare. See where my dilemma is? I'm like still sitting here trying to answer your guys' questions because you guys have been with me this long, and I feel like I need to take you with me through this process, through these big changes, because, you know, we've been doing this for a few years now. You know, my goals are changing, my priorities are changing. That's just life, and I don't know. Also, hopefully this is not our only child, and so if I am going to be pregnant again in the near future, then I just don't think active duty is the right lifestyle for me anymore. When you are active duty, you know, there's training, there's PT, there's TDYs, there's deployments, there's PCSing, all these things that I feel like I've obviously been very limited on the past few months, and I have really felt that daily. I'm pretty much reminded of it daily, and as much as I love active duty and I love the Air Force, I think I'm going to love my son more. I don't know if this answered your guys' questions at all, but I don't really have a lot of answers right now, and that's okay. I will keep taking you guys with me and explaining what's going on this journey, but thank you guys so much for being here with me. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.